Greetings, fellow dungeon delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons. My name is Justin, and I'm going to be your guide to answering the burning question on everyone's mind. Are Artificers Pog, or are they Dog? That's right, this is the internet where we have no room for nuance, so I'm going to break down each of the Artificers' features, then give them a rating of Pog if they're great, or Dog if they're anything less. Now there are some caveats for this. First, the earlier a feature appears, the more lenience I'll have on it. Some of the beginning features of a class can be mainly for flavor, and so I'll give them an easier time. On the other hand, the capstones of a class have no such excuse, and with such a high investment of your levels, I expect a ton of power or utility to be baked into them, preferably both. Second, a subclass's interaction with a feature may be enough to save it from dog status if the synergy is good enough. Keep in mind, my rating here has nothing to do with how enjoyable the class might be, and if you love a feature I call dog, please come on down to the comments section and let me know why I'm wrong. But before we get started with the breakdown, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our videos. I'd like to take a minute and thank our awesome patrons over on Patreon who support us every month. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on and me cranking out new content. If you like our videos and want to support the channel, come join us over on Patreon today. Our Discord is public for anyone to join. If you're interested, check out the link down below in my link tree. Alright, now let's get into it. So what is an Artificer? Artificers are tinkerers who use tools and masterful inventions to channel their magical abilities. Their use of tools as spellcasting foci provide a wide breadth of variety when it comes to casting your spells. Whether you're painting a runic sigil on someone to buff them, or using jeweler's tools to cast detect magic. This freedom is one of my favorite things about this class, and from a class fantasy perspective, Artificers are definitely Pog, but let's see how their features stack up. We'll start off with magical tinkering, the Artificer's first feature. Using your tools, you touch a tiny non-magical object and imbue it with a little bit of magic, giving it one of 4 magical properties. It can shed 5 feet of bright light, emit a recorded message when touched by a creature, emit an odor or nonverbal sound continuously, or it can display a visual effect on its surface. Limit-wise, you can use each of the 4 properties on one item, but you can only have your intelligence mod in items active at a time. So if you have a +3 intelligence, you're only going to be able to keep 3 items active, each with a separate property. These applications are vague enough to really enable and reward creativity, and give you and your party the ability for some truly awesome roleplay interactions. Carry a bag of ball bearings with you, and give your tinkers some mobility by rolling them up to your enemies or into crowded spaces to confuse them. If you're being chased and need a distraction, record the sound of your footsteps and throw the bearing down an adjacent hallway and continue on, hoping to at the very least split the folks chasing you. This can also save someone from having to take the light cantrip, or at least giving you a dimmer option in case you're trying to be a bit sneakier than the light spell allows you to be. For my rating, with all the roleplay potential and utility this feature provides, I'm going to have to go with Pog. Now onto spellcasting. Artificers are intelligence-based half-casters, meaning they gain spell slots and learned level spells much slower than their full casting counterparts. You also have a spellcasting ceiling of 5th level that you won't even reach until level 17. Now I know this negative tone might make you think we're heading towards a rating of Dog, but Artificers actually have a pretty cool spell list. And as I mentioned in the intro to the class, you cast these spells with any set of tools you're proficient with, using them as a spellcasting focus. Meaning you can cast Shatter by using your Tinker's tools to lob a sound grenade into a pack of enemies, and it's completely in line with the flavoring of the class's spellcasting. On top of that, you have full access to the Artificer's spell list when you finish a long rest to prepare a new set of spells for the day. Don't want to use Shatter anymore? After your long rest, take 2 minutes and prepare Continual Flame instead, using your Tinker's tools to craft a Bunsen burner. And the final icing on this feature's cake is that once you infuse an item with one of your infusions, it becomes a potential spellcasting focus for you. For my rating, being able to choose one of 18 different sets of tools to flavor each and every spell you cast is cool enough for a Pog rating for me, but then you add your own infused items into the mix, and preparing your spells instead of learning them, this feature is easily Pog. Alrighty, now we'll get into the meat of the class. The ability to infuse items with magic or craft prototypes of certain existing magic items. Whenever you finish a long rest, You can imbue an amount of non-magical items with one of your Artificer infusions, which grant the item certain magical properties. These infusions range from giving a weapon to a +1 to attack and damage rolls, to giving a suit of armor 60-foot rocket punches. Depending on the strength of the infusion, you may even need to attune to that item. The infusions themselves warrant their own Pog or Dog video, so we won't dive into them too much here, but their potential will obviously weigh in on the rating I give at the end. You learn 4 of these infusions at level 2 when you gain this feature, and then some more along the way, capping out at 12 known infusions at level 20. This number is extremely low, considering you have over 60 options to choose from, not including all of the common magical items you can create as well. But even worse than that, of the 4 infusions you know, you can only actually imbue 2 items with them until level 6, and even then it only scales up to 6 total. The Armorer subclass attempts to make up for this by giving you 2 additional infused items, as long as you use those 2 items to improve your own armor, but these limitations are a huge swing and miss for the class. Another problem you have on top of this is that 43 of these infusions require attunement, which most characters only have 3 slots for. This problem goes in tandem with the final flaw in this feature I want to talk about, the scaling. These items are very strong early, giving you powerful tools to help bridge the gaps in early level play, where a +1 weapon or shield can literally make the difference between slaying that bandit captain or a TPK. But at level 10, a weapon that only gives you a +2 to your attack and damage rolls just isn't going to cut it. Most characters will likely have a weapon that gives the +2 and has some other really cool ability. For my rating, while I love the flavor this feature brings, and the ability to cover character weaknesses in the early game, the poor scaling and too small cap on infusions known and infusible items makes this feature the first dog for the class. At 3rd level, you'll choose your Artificer specialty, and also get the right tool for the job. This is going to let you take an hour out of your day that can coincide with a short or long rest to use your own set of tools to magically craft a new set of artisan's tools to use until you use this feature again. Now, the first thing I'll say about this feature is its placement. This is a great feature to learn at this level, because all of your subclasses utilize a specific set of tools in their work. Alchemists use alchemist supplies, armorers and battlesmiths use the smith's tools, and artillerists use wood carver's tools. So on the off chance your subclass's required tools are destroyed, you can remake them in an hour and this feature's come back online no problem. On top of that, remember that you can use any set of artisan tools you're proficient with in your spellcasting. So anytime you want to change up the flavor of your spells, all you need to do is take an hour and crank out a new set of tools to use. For my rating, this feature is the perfect balance of flavor and utility, giving you the ability to restore a needed component of your kit, even while healing up during a short or long rest. Definitely Pog. Tool expertise is fairly simple. At 6th level, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses a tool you're proficient with. This is one of those features designed to really drive home the class fantasy of the Arcane Engineer, who your party will rely on to craft important items, or to find creative mechanical solutions to traps or other obstacles. Tool expertise is another easy Pog. Flash of Genius is a great reaction Artificers learn at level 7. Anytime you or one of your allies within 30 feet makes an ability check or save, your brain light bulb can go off, and you can spend your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the result. It has the same number of charges as your intelligence modifier, and they all come back on a long rest. Flash of Genius can easily be the difference between life and death, literally, since you can use this feature to assist in death saving throws. With its versatility and a decent amount of charges, this feature is easily Pog. Magic Item Adept is the first of a series of magic item-centric features Artificers get. You bump up your maximum attunement slots to 4, and you can craft a magic item in a quarter of the time it normally takes, and for half as much gold. Let's tackle that second part first, and this is anecdotal, so feel free to comment down below if this is not your experience. But most DMs I know and have played with do not use the standard crafting system. So half of this feature is dog right off the bat. Then you look at the first part, the increasing your attuned items part. That's not bad, but since you'll be juggling your own infusions that require attunement with the magic items you find throughout your adventure, This just isn't good enough to make up for it. Magic item adept is dog. Spell storing item is the 11th level Artificer feature that gives them the ability to imbue a weapon or an item you can use as a spellcasting focus with a 1st or 2nd level spell that only requires an action to cast. As an action, the creature can produce the spell's effect from it, and if it requires concentration, they'll have to concentrate on it. It has 2 times your intelligence mod and charges, so there's a decent amount of usage imbued into the item. This is an easy way to pass utility spells like invisibility or longstrider around to the whole party without burning a ton of spell slots. Or you could load it up with a damaging spell and pass it off to the healer of the party so they could save their spell slots for healing spells instead. The inventiveness and versatility of this feature makes it POG. Next we have Magic Item Savant at Artificer 14. Now this feature bumps your attunement count up to 5, and you can ignore all race, class, spell, and level requirements when it comes to attuning to an item. I'll skip the same spiel I gave about increasing your attunement item slots. It still applies here, and instead just focus on the requirements removal. The requirements for the majority of these items are more intended to ensure the item ends up going to someone who can properly use the item in the first place. They aren't actual gates to prevent player power, so removing them isn't much of a boon at all. Magic Item Savant is definitely dog. Then we get Magic Item Master at level 18. You don't even have the decency to give us an additional boon to our magic item use. You literally just give us another attunement slot. This is level 18. One more magic item ain't it, chief. Dog. Now we're finally at the capstone of the build, and therefore the feature I'm going to be the toughest on. At 20th level, Artificers get Soul of Artifice, letting you draw upon your connection to magical items. You gain a +1 to all saving throws per attuned magic item you have, and if you're reduced to 0 hit points, but not killed outright, you can spend your reaction to end one of your infusions, and drop to 1 hit point instead of 0. With Flash of Genius, you're going to be sitting happily at a +11 to all of your saving throws, and maybe more depending on your party's composition, so that is definitely a win. I think calling upon the latent magic in the items you wield is perfect flavor-wise, and using your Artificer infusions as cheat deaths is a cool mechanic as well, with you pulling back some of the energy you've given to the item to restore yourself. If you have Flash of Genius charges though, you're most likely better off just dropping to 0 and rolling your death saves, since you can either have an ally heal yourself back up, or use the +11 this feature and Flash of Genius give you to crush your death saves and get back up yourself with your full bonus intact. Either way, this capstone is definitely one of the best capstones Wizards have created, and is easily POG. So let's recap. Magical Tinkering is POG for its roleplay potential and utility. Artificer Spellcasting was also POG for its versatility with the various artisan tools. Infuse item is dog, mainly because you can only know a handful of infusions, and actually infuse even less. The right tool for the job is POG, mainly for giving Artificers the ability to restore their spellcasting focus if they're destroyed. Tool Expertise enhances our class fantasy of being the Arcane Engineer and is therefore POG. Flash of Genius is an amazing reaction that can be used to give us light bulb moments to help ourselves and our allies, so also POG. Then we have Magic Item Adept, Savant, and Master, which are all dog for the same reason. Attunement is a bad system, and these features are band-aids at best for said bad system. Spell Storing Item is a party-wide POG with tons of utility. And finally we have Soul of Artifice rounding out the build as POG, with its bonus to your saving throws, compounding upon Flash of Genius, and turning your infused items into little cheat death abilities. Overall though, I have to rate the Artificer as POG in the early levels, and dog in endgame. While they start off strong and really help cover the gaps your party has in the early game, their abilities simply do not scale to the late game strong enough to make this class one of the poggers. So what'd you think? If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We plan on churning out one D&D video every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.